Miraidon here, Miraidon there, Miraidon everywhere this past weekend at the Miluakee Regionals, and we are going to cover this today in this amazing Miluakee Regional covers, the first one of Regulation I. Welcome everybody to another Pokemon VGC video. It's me, Ketsu, and today we are going to be covering all of the stuff that happened this past weekend in Miluakee for the Regulation I Regional Tournament, the first one of Regulation I as well, and oh my gosh, it was a doozy. If you guys enjoyed this type of content, let me know by leaving a like down below, and as well hitting that subscribe button. It helps me out a ton. But we will be starting off with some of the top teams that happened this past weekend, and we're going to start off with the top 8 done by Jonathan Quinones, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, with the only non-Miraidon usage team this entire tournament. If you look at like the top 16, I think like maybe 12 or 13 of them carried Miraidon. Miraidon was everywhere this past weekend, and it was absolutely insane. This was the highest rated team that actually did not carry Miraidon this entire weekend, and it is a Shadow Rider Calyrex with Terrapago's team. So we're going to start off by looking at the top spot, and it is Incineroar here with the safety goggles, Terra Water, Flare Blitz, Knockoff, Part and Shot, Fake Out. Pretty much standard stuff for Incineroar there. But still seeing a little bit of safety goggles here, still seeing some Amoonguss play here and there, but again, since Miraidon is coming around, we're not really seeing Amoonguss that much because obviously the terrain being able to shut down Spore, Amoonguss's most valuable toolkit here, just kind of gets shut out the water, so it's kind of rough to see Amoonguss in this top spot here. Speaking of Amoonguss, we are also carrying that as well with the Rocky Helmet, going into the Terra Water as well. It's a pretty nice defensive typing, to be quite honest with you. Protect, Sludge Bomb, Rage Powder, Spore, it's pretty standard stuff for Amoonguss as well. We go into the Rillaboom with the Terra Fire, Assault Vest, standard stuff here, Grassy Glide, Wood Hammer, Fake Out, U-Turn. Again, standard stuff for Rillaboom. Rillaboom's not really seen that much of a change. Next up, we have the Terrapagos. Now, Terrapagos is running with the Leftover set and the Terra Stella. This has become more of the more popular set of Terrapagos. We've seen Choice Specs, we've seen all these other things go for Terrapagos, but Leftovers, Calm Mind seems to be the more standard set for Terrapagos here. Protect, Terra Starstorm, Earth Power, and Calm Mind, which again, pretty much standard set for Terrapagos here, and having its Terra Stella typing as well, with its ability being able to take off weathers and terrains, which are both very valuable in this regulation. It's going to be something really, really important for Terrapagos. I feel like Terrapagos is going to fall more into that anti-meta team, where it's just like if they don't want to deal with weather, if they don't want to deal with terrains, at that point in time, Terrapagos can just pop the Terra and then just absolutely get rid of all of it, as well as punishing anyone that wants to Terra to stay away from any weaknesses or anything like that in the sidelines as well. We also have the Focus Sash Terra Ghost Shadow Rider Calyrex, which is going for more the offensive side of things, which is Protect, Astral Barrage, Encore, and Disable. We've seen a lot more different shades of Calyrex here, the Shadow Rider at least, and it's going to be something that you see a lot, or maybe once or twice in this video, but we'll talk about it a little bit more as the video progresses. So we've seen obviously Shadow Rider Calyrex having a Focus Sash a lot more now. We've seen it with Lightfall back in Regulation G with things like Nasty Plot and obviously Astral Barrage and Psychic, but we're sticking more with that Astral Barrage Psychic mix, but instead of things like Nasty Plot, we're running Encore. You see more things like Encore because again, it's really, really fast restricted. You're running a really, good speed control Pokemon with Icy Wind, Pokemon with Tailwind, etc, etc. So you kind of force this thing where essentially you have a Prankster there because nothing can really outspeed it. So you're forcing things to kind of not protect, because while you are not a Prankster, you're running that fast where you essentially are one, which is again really, really insane. And finally is the Cornerstone Ogerpon with the Spiky Shield, Ivy Cudgel knockoff. Not this time, it's not Wood Hammer or it's not Horn Leech or Power Whip, it's knockoff this time, which is very, very interesting. Ogerpon in general has like a very, very diverse toolkit, but it's very hard to kind of piece everything together just because it's got so many uses to the point where it's like, what do you really want to get out of it? It's got things like knockoff, it's got play rough, it can get like all these really, really good moves, but it's nice to see something else outside of the original, stab grass, especially since you've got things like Rillaboom there to counter that stab grass problem that you would have with Ogerpon. So you kind of have that free slot there to kind of go like, well, I can kind of add in whatever I want. If I want to go Focus Energy, I can go with that. I can do knockoff, I can do play rough, any typing that I'm kind of missing out on or I really want to take a part of, I can just do that instead. And of course the Follow Me as well, because Follow Me is just absolutely amazing for Ogerpon too. Next up is the top 4 spot done by Luca Paz, which is the Miraidon Lunala team. And yeah, this team is no joke. This team is absolutely no joke. I believe this is more or less the first place team, but we'll get to that in a second. I'm pretty sure there's 1 or 2 Pokemon swapped out, but we'll get to that in a second anyway. We have the Incineroar here with the Rocky Helmet and Terra Bug. Bug is becoming a lot more of a decent staple now for Incineroar, especially like fighting or dark types in general, because things like Iron Hands as well loves to go into Terra Bug because you stay clear of that fire, you stay clear of the fighting type weakness, you stay clear of the ground type weakness, while at the same time you're not really putting yourself in harm's way, since Incineroar would love to run Terra Ghost like it usually would do, but now that you've got double restricted, it's like, yeah, you can stay away from these fighting types, but then Calyrex is just going to be there just waving at you ready to hit you with Astral Barrage, which isn't going to be very fun. At least with Terra Bug, you still keep those defensive measures, but you don't fall into the trap of Shadow Rider Calyrex. And we also have the moveset of Flare Blitz, U-Turn, Will-O-Wisp, and Fake Out. U-Turn is very, very cool because not only do you essentially get the same pivot that you would do with Parting Shot, you get the Terra Bug Boost on top of that. So you get a little bit of extra damage on top of everything, which I think is really, really cool. It's a nice way to hit Dark types, which Incineroar, you know, really struggles to do. It's a nice way to hit Psychic types, since you can still, you know, hit Psychic types outside of not having things like Knockoff. It's a really, really good moveset to have, and I'm actually quite impressed that U-Turn would have, you know, a really, really good amount of usage here. It's really, really useful. Next up is the Lunala with the Electric Seed to pair off with Miraidon's Electric Terrain. Lunala is already such a bulky Pokemon to deal with as well. You add any multipliers on that, like we've seen what happens when you add a Calm Mind Lunala. Can you imagine if you could add a Calm Mind with an Electric Seed? This thing is not going down, especially going with its Shadow Shield ability where it doesn't take like that much damage. Like every single damage taken from it is halved if it's on full HP. You add that with the Electric Seed and with a potential Calm Mind as well. This one doesn't run it, but I'm just saying as like a theory, this thing will never go down, and it is absolutely insane. We've got the Terra Fairy to turn that times 4 weakness to Dark into a resistance to Dark, Moongeist Beam, Moonblast, Trick Room, and Wide Guard as well. A really, really good Wide Guard Pokemon as well. It's, you know, goes side to side with things like Zamazenta. It's a really, really decent Pokemon. Like Lunala has been coming up so much more in usage since, you know, Regulation G at the end of that lifespan, and now Lunala is just kind of like overtaking everybody and just becoming this really, really dominant force here. Just this threat that just won't sit down, and it's very, very impressive. We have the Choice Band Terra Ghost Urshifu, which is quite useful because, again, you don't want to get stalled out with things like Fake Out. You just want to hit straight out of the gate as much as you can, as fast as you can, which makes things really, really useful here. Surging Strikes, Arc Jet, Close Combat, and U-Turn. And because it's Choice Band and not Choice Scarf, you've got like really, really good leeway here to do so much damage here. We also have the Flame Orb Ursaluna with the Terra Ghost and the Guts ability as well. Steers clears from that fighting weakness, as well as things like Fake Out as well. Facade, Headlong Rush, Earthquake, and Protect. Just Earthquake to kind of get like that last end game thing where it's like, well, I know I've got Ursaluna free, I know I've got them on in the back free in case I need it. I can just pop an Earthquake, get rid of my ally, get rid of yours, and then I've still kind of got Ursaluna ready on the field here. It's kind of like a really good late game delete button in a sense. So yeah, while nobody here is pretty much taking that Earthquake really well, especially from that Guts boosted burn, you're doing really, really good things here in the sense of like in the late game, just everybody's on low HP, you might as well just click that button, especially when you're inside a Trick Room, and just see how it goes. If everybody gets KO'd, then it's great. If everybody doesn't get KO'd, then it was safe to say that that game wasn't going to go in your favor anyway. So it's a really good late game option to just be like, just press this button and just see where it goes. Next up, we have the Assault Vest Miraidon. Now, normally we're used to seeing Choice Specs here. We're used to seeing Choice Specs Miraidon with the Terra Fairy and going into all these different movesets here, but this time we're running a bit more differently. We're running a bit more passive. We're running a bit more with a bulky Assault Vest here. This is to help us steer clear of things like Shadow Rider Calyrex, as well as the Miraidon matchup, since those two are probably the more dominant of the two in the metagame right now, especially things like Lunala as well, that would love to just go absolutely ballistic with damage. But we also have the Terra Electric to make sure that we essentially have an extra boost in damage, something that Choice Specs would allow us to give anyway. We have Draco Meteor, Electro Drift, Volt Switch, and Snarl instead. Not Dazzling Gleam, we run Snarl this time because, again, a lot more special attackers are becoming a lot more consistent here. Shadow Rider Calyrex, Miraidon, Lunala, like we've mentioned before. All of these Pokemon are becoming a lot more, you know, frequent in usage, and it's a very, very good way to kind of keep everything pinned down and keep everything locked in here, because Snarl just helps you get this, you know, special attack drops over and over again, and it just really makes sense here because, again, while you've got a bulky Miraidon with Assault Vest and a bulky Lunala with Electric Seed, you kind of got to separate the two to try and get rid of at least one of them, but at that point the other one's kind of running away with the game. Very, very interesting concept here, and I very, very much like this duo. This duo is very, very aggressive. And finally is the Whimsy with the Cobra Cloak and the Terra Dark, stay away from other pranksters. Moonblast, Light Screen, Tailwind, Encore, standard set for Whimsicott. Nice to see that's not changed either. And now we go into the number 2 slot, done by Dylan Cliven. Again, apologies if I get that wrong. With the Miraidon and Calyrex Ice Rider. Now, these two, again, is just so dominant. I've seen this team come up loads on ladder. I've even played against it in my local the other day, and oh my gosh, these two are so freaking insane. So the way that this plays out here is that you have them on that can essentially set up Trick Room here, whether it be something like Ice Rider or something like Farigiraf, and then Miraidon ends up setting that terrain. It would Volt Switch over into the Iron Hands, and because you're looking at this threat, especially with the Choice Scarf, which we'll get to in a second, you're not really finding anything that outspeeds Miraidon, so you're kind of essentially forced to do your option for speed control, which would be Tailwind. So you would set up a Tailwind, try and hit Miraidon as hard as you can, but if you do a Tailwind and don't get that set off, you're now stuck having to do Trick Room inside of your own Tailwind. It essentially forces you to either take a really big hit with Miraidon and play in the Trick Room, or not take a big hit from Miraidon, try and get Miraidon out, but then you are always going to be slower in the Trick Room. So it's a really good way to kind of like pin your opponent from turn 1, which is, again, fantastic. It's a fantastic play here. It's very, very, like, it punishes you whether you do or you don't go for speed control. It's just so crazy. But yes, we have the Calyrex Ice with the Clear Amulet, Terrafire, Protect, Trick Room, Glacial Lance, High Horsepower, standard set for Calyrex here. It's pretty much the same set that we've seen since the beginning of Calyrex's usage here. It's not changed, but it's nice to see that it's still going really hard. Terrafire, if anything, was like the one change, because normally we sing Terra Water, but again, Miraidon would love to hit that. So Terrafire is probably much the next best thing you've got going here, which again, I can't complain. It's very nice. So we was going into the Choice Scarf Miraidon, as we was just talking about, again forcing your opponent to go for a Tailwind to keep up with the Miraidon, but then in exchange you're getting absolutely stomped on with the Trick Room. So it's again super aggressive plays here. Going into Terra Electric as well, a lot more of an aggressive Miraidon here. Draco, Volt Switch, Electro Drift, Snarl, again replacing that Dazzling Gleam for a Snarl. We're seeing a lot more Dazzling Gleam getting taken out here. This isn't much of a sense of just Wide Guard becoming more popular, things like Lunala and Zamazenta, but it's becoming more popular of special attackers specifically being more in the forefront here. So again, you have things like Draco Meteor, which can obviously one-shot a lot of physical attackers, things like Miraidon and things like, you know, all these really good Pokemon. And since like Zamazenta loves to go Terra Dragon as well, Electro Drift alone can take out Zamazenta if it doesn't Terra. So again, it's a very nice option there. But then the Snarl is more for the special attackers, like we said. It's for the Miraidons, for the Lunalas, for the Calyrexes. It's all for these special attackers that don't have a way to drop like we do with Intimidate. So it's a nice way to kind of just get these things going, hit these Snarls, drop these all these special attacks, and just make sure we can kind of keep the game flowing and consistent. We have the Electric Sea Farigiraf, pretty much standard set here. Armatail, Terra Water, Psychic Noise, Power Play, Helping Hand, Trick Room, standard set for Farigiraf, nothing to complain there. Same with Ogerpon, Ivy Cudgel, Power Whip, Spike Shield, Follow Me. Again, standard for Ogerpon here. Pretty much the same with Iron Hands, the Assault Vest, Terra Water, Fake Out, Drain Punch, Low Kick, Wild Charge. Not running Heavy Slam, which is quite interesting. I would have thought you'd want to see Heavy Slam, at least some type of Steel type coverage, just to get 1 or 2 fairies that might be running around here, because Terra Fairy is still a pretty solid typing to go for. So I would have thought you would see, you know, something like a Heavy Slam, but I guess not. I guess Wild Charge also does make really good damage anyway, and you still get the stab, which is also quite nice. And finally is the Volcarona here with the Rocky Helmet and the Terra Dragon, Rage Powder, Protect, Fiery Dance, and Will-O-Wisp. This is more so a supportive Volcarona. It doesn't exactly set up Tailwind for you, but it's more in the sense of like, if you're really in trouble, you can set up these Rage Powders, especially for physical attackers as well. Things like Urshifu does not want to hit Volcarona. Yes, you're hitting it for super effective damage if it doesn't Terra, but then there's Rocky Helmet and there's also Flame Body as well. So even if you did get rid of Volcarona, there is still a chance that you're going to get burnt, which is going to just really make it annoying for you. And then even going on top of that, you're still getting punished for hitting it in the first place thanks to Rocky Helmet. And even so, Will-O-Wisp is just nice insurance to make sure that if I can't burn you with my ability, I'm going to burn you with my move instead. So it just makes the chances of you getting burned a lot more likely to happen. And then finally is the #1 slot made by Andrew Ding, and again it is a Miraidon Lunala moveset. Again, Miraidon has just been everywhere this tournament. He has been absolutely insane here. But we're going to start things off with the Ursaluna here. Ursaluna has been absolutely insane. I was expecting not to see that many ground types running around, because I would have thought things like Ice Rider Calyrex and Zamazenta and things like that would have been able to really snuff out Ursaluna, but I was wrong. There was a lot more Ursaluna than what I expected. So ground typing is a very weird state right now, because yes, you are getting really good damage on things like Miraidon and things like, you know, Terra, Fire, Koraidon, and all these other Pokemon as well, but Ice Rider Calyrex has kind of got the monopoly on getting rid of ground types, or at least threatening ground types, which I thought was very strange. Like, yes, you do have things like Rillaboom as well, but Rillaboom in hindsight can just get like one shot pretty easily, because things like Landorus would have Sludge Bomb, things like Ursaluna has, you know, Burnt Facade. It's kind of strange to see that ground types are becoming a lot more dominant than what I thought it was going to be. I generally thought ground types weren't going to be that much of an option, but Ursaluna really did prove me wrong. I think there were quite a few Ursalunas in the top cut as well. It was very interesting to see. It was very interesting. But yes, we have the Terra Ghost as well to stay clear of Fake Out and stay clear of fighting type moves that we don't want to get hit by. Headlong Rush, Facade, Earthquake, and Protect. Pretty much the same thing as we spoke about earlier. Earthquake being just that nice delete button for the end game, just to see how, you know, things play out. We also have the Choice Band, Rapid Strike, Urshifu going into Terra Ghost, Surging Strikes, U-Turn, Close Combat, and Aqua Jet. Again, pretty much same standard set here for a Choice Band Urshifu, just making sure that we hit things as hard as humanly possible and just make sure that we can, you know, just kind of break everything down, break focus sashes, break down walls as much as we physically can before, you know, everything goes a different direction. Then we have the Assault Vest Miraidon going to Terra Electric, Draco, Electro Drift, Snarl, and Volt Switch, same thing that we saw before. Again, dropping that Dazzling Gleam for a Snarl because there's a lot more special attackers here right now in the metagame. Then we go into the Rocky Helmet Incineroar with the Terra Bug, Fake Out Parting Shot with a Wisp and Knockoff. Again, same standard stuff for Incineroar here, Terra Bug becoming a lot more dominant here. We have the Terra Fairy Lunala with the Electric Seed, again being this absolutely bulkish tank that just will not go down. Moonblast, Moongeist Beam, Trick Room, and Wide Guard. So Trick Room is specifically there for Luna. It can also be there for Incineroar as well, or anyone that wants to, you know, again, same factor as what we talked about before with the Ice Rider Calyrex team. If there's anyone that's like really scared of trying to get rid of all of these mons here that wasn't set up Tailwind, Lunala can just literally go like, well, here's the Trick Room, good luck trying to hit me first, because you will never make it happen. And even if you did, it's just really weak priority moves, which is just, again, super great for Lunala. And it's just, it's a really good way, again, of like really punishing your opponent, basically going like, I'm going to make sure that whatever speed control there is, I'm going to be in control of it. And then finally, we have the Light Clay, Terra Ghost Grimmsnarl, Reflect Light Screen, T-Wave, and Spirit Break. I have been claiming for ages now, for months now, that screens are going to be so dominant. And eventually, it was bound to happen. We was bound to see some type of screen come up at some point, like some type of screen user. There was Whimsicott that won Worlds, obviously with Light Screen, but I mean like the ones that can set up both like Grimmsnarl. And oh my gosh, yeah, Grimmsnarl, I can't lie, Grimmsnarl stocks are gonna go up. Like, this is absolutely insane. Grimmsnarl is a really good Pokemon because, one, it's a dark type, so you can't really do Prankster taunts on it. So that means that anything like Whimsicott or Tornadus can't really go in front of it and do taunt. You need a non-Prankster Pokemon to hit it with taunt, which means that every single time, this thing is always going to set up a screen before it gets taunted. No matter what, it will always set up at least one screen or paralyze at least one Pokemon before it gets taunted by a non-Prankster user. And even if that's the case, you can't even slow this thing down with Prankster users because, again, dark types can't get affected by Prankster. It is an absolutely insane style to go by. Terra Ghost making sure you don't get affected by Fake Out, so you can just run these screens straight away. Again, Thunder Wave being really good speed control, slowing down things like Calyrex, slowing down things, you know, like all these other first Pokemon here. If Miraidon gets, you know, a bit worried and wants to go Terra, you can Thunder Wave that, basically punish it for that. It is really insane. And Spirit Break as well, also applying the same thing as Snarl, but being single target instead of, you know, spread move, just lowering down special attack here, because you don't really need to worry so much about dark type moves, because again, you have Incineroar here that can kind of take this off you here with knockoff. And for the most part, again, if you set up Trick Room, you've got Moongeist Beam against Shadow Rider, you've got all these really good things here going off against you. You don't really essentially need Foul Play. So Spirit Break is a very good option here, considering that, again, you don't have a lot of Fairy type options besides a Moonblast on Lunala. So it's, again, a pretty nice thing to go for here, and I'm quite excited about that. This regional was absolutely insane. Oh my lord. So I tried looking around to see if I could find the top usage restricted of day one, but unfortunately I couldn't do that. But I think I found something better that we can look at here. So I believe this was also for day one, but this is the top 4 restricted pairs that we got for Milwaukee this past weekend. So going into the top spot is the Shadow Rider and the Zamazenta core. These two were absolutely dominant at the start of Regulation I when it was announced, when everyone was doing online tournaments and stuff before it officially became legal. And Calyrex and, you know, Zamazenta was just becoming very dominant. Like, they were absolutely insane. So of course everyone would take that formula that is really good and try and apply it into regionals to see exactly how much it fared. But it was very clear to see that everyone was just ready for it. Everyone was completely ready. There wasn't even a Zamazenta, I believe, in the top 16, I believe, which was very disappointing. I would have loved to see my favorite doggo hit the top spot, but what can you do? I'm pretty sure at some point down the line people will find a use for Zamazenta, and we'll see how that plays out. But until that point, Zamazenta's just been chilling. He's trying to do the best that he can. Next up after that is the core that we've been seeing a lot more lately, is the Miraidon and Ice Rider. Again, these two just absolutely punish you for making pretty much any single choice you want to make. We have the Miraidon and the Lunala going in after that. These two have been very dominant as well, because again, Lunala being able to set up Trick Room, and you have a lot of good mons that can be good in Trick Room as well. You have things like Brute Bonnet as well, which is becoming up in a lot more in usage, which has been quite nice. And Miraidon just being able to set up the Sun is just really good and really dominant. I've been really liking the use of Miraidon. I think Miraidon is very great. And then lastly is the Shadow Rider and Miraidon mix as well. These two I've not seen too much, so I'm not exactly sure what the teams consist of, but looking at these two as a whole, they seem very dominant as well. You've got Shadow Rider that does good spread, and you've got Miraidon that basically punishes, you know, things like Zamazenta that wants to set up Wide Guard to protect yourself from Calyrex. So you either save yourself from Calyrex and get hit by Miraidon, or you save yourself from Miraidon, but you kind of get screwed over by Calyrex a little bit later on as well after that. But we did manage to find the top 12 non-restricted Pokemon for day one. And again, Incineroar, Rapid Urshifu coming up in the top spot here. I think Urshifu's coming down a lot more just because of the restricted that you have. There's not exactly that much ground for Urshifu to fit, and you're kind of sacrificing something over something else. So, for example, you could make things a lot faster by giving it a Choice Scarf, and yes, you are going faster than Calyrex, but the damage isn't going to quite be there. I think there's some specific ranges, especially if you want to tweak 1 or 2 EVs into Miraidon's, you know, physical bulk, it might be able to even survive on a Surging Strikes, but then you'd have the Terra, which does get the KO, but you're wasting a Terra just for that. So, but then you could go the other way, which you could go for Mystic Water or the Choice Band like we've been seeing, but then it kind of falls down to, one, you're not faster than Calyrex, and I'm pretty sure everything else after that from Calyrex as well can one-shot Urshifu, especially if it's got things that we're used to seeing like a Life Orb or things like a Helping Hand. It's not exactly the best position for Urshifu right now. And I think Urshifu might actually go down in usage because, again, we've just got like all these really, really good Pokemon that can just kind of delete Urshifu very, very quickly. Urshifu's like the definition of a glass cannon right now, where, yeah, it can probably pick up a kill, but unless you position him right and get the right speed control, he's not gonna really do that much. After that, we have the Iron Hands to obviously pair up with Miraidon. Of course, if you see Miraidon, there is a good chance that you're going to see Iron Hands with you as well. Next up is the Floodamane as well. Floodamane just sticking firm, pretty much trying to prove that it is still the best Paradox Pokemon around. We have Rillaboom wrapping up the big three a little bit after that. Farigiraf closing in as well. We've got Chiyu, Tornadus, and Whimsy, the Tailwind setters, the main 2 Tailwind setters as well, next to each other. We have the Raging Bolt. I think Raging Bolt has been really, really good as well. But again, most people are running Miraidon, so you're not really seeing too much of Raging Bolt since they do carry the same typings. So pretty much in a sense of like, if you're not really seeing that much of Miraidon, you're probably going to see Raging Bolt. But maybe, again, once the meta shapes out a bit more nicer, we'll probably see something a little bit different here. And then, of course, we have the Indeedee, our last terrain user, as well as Cornerstone Ogerpon, just to wrap up this whole shindig of the top 12. And I think this is a very, very balanced top 12. All of these Pokemon have like really, really good usage. All of these Pokemon have really, really good typings, really, really good movesets, and just really, really good playstyles depending on what your team is. And I really do like all of these Pokemon. I think these are really, really great. So it's nice to see that, you know, the meta hasn't shifted too much, but again, it's still very, very early. This is still the first regional of the entire regulation. So we get to see how things kind of shape out as time goes by, especially when we've got Worlds coming up in a few months. But then everything changes in day 2. Again, going into the top 4 restricted pairs here, like exactly what we said was going to happen. Miraidon, Ice Rider, Calyrex just going absolutely dominant in usage. These two were just absolutely insane. Honestly, I don't think there's a lot that can get rid of these two, or either Miraidon, Lunala right now. Like, whatever comes through to kind of shift it over, I definitely think things are going to go different. Things are going to be very, very different when we get going with the regulation. It is going to be absolutely insane. But right now, these two, I don't see anything clearing these two anytime soon. Next up after that, we have the Miraidon and Lunala matchup as well that we've seen before. Going shortly after that is the Shadow Rider, Calyrex, and Zamazenta duo that's just gone absolutely tanked in usage. I think it even went like by half. I think I'd have to double check that, but I think it went by half. Yeah, so again, everybody just realizing what these two can do, everybody realizing that yes, they are dominant, and everyone's just got the download on it. Everyone can just kind of figure out and kind of shift things over and get past it right now. So Shadow Rider, again, it starts off really, really good. It burns so bright, but it just goes out so quickly. And then of course we have the Ice Rider Miraidon matchup as well. So it's really good to see, you know, we've got both of the horses, we've got both of the bikes just mixed around with maybe like a defensive support here. You've got really ultra aggressive versions of Ice Rider and Miraidon, or, you know, Ice Rider and Miraidon, but then the other ones here kind of go for more of a defensive set. Like you've got Zamazenta, really good typing, really good moveset, you know, doesn't get affected by Intimidate, can still keep up that pace and that threat and that pressure. Then you've got Lunala, really good ability, keeps the bulk, all these type of things as well, can get speed control of Trick Room for slower mons. So it really helped here in a sense of like, it looks like most of it is either a combination of two really strong Pokemon, or one really strong Pokemon and one super defensive Pokemon that can help you with support. And then going into the top 8 restricted Pokemon, I couldn't find the top 8 or top 12 non-restricted. So if anybody's got the link to try and find that out, let me know, because I would love to see that. But yeah, Miraidon in the top spot, absolutely. It's like the first time, you know, we've seen the horses not be in the top spot for a very long time, which is really insane. Miraidon shortly after that. Then we've got obviously Ice Rider, Lunala. Then we've got Shadow Rider and Zamazenta. And the one I want to point at the most is Ho-Oh. I can't believe that Ho-Oh, of all these restricteds, has made it into the top spot. I can't believe that. That is absolutely insane. But at the same time, it makes a lot of sense. Ho-Oh is very, very bulky. It's got a really good ability in Regenerator, stuff that we've seen Amoonguss have constantly. And on top of that, it pairs really well with a lot of these mons. It's really safe against Fairy and Ground types that hit Miraidon. It's very good from Fairy types, like we just said, that Koraidon doesn't like to get hit by it. It can take Fire type hits, unlike Ice Rider. It's just really, really solid. Like, it could do a lot of great things. And I'm very, very impressed. This is a really, really good way of having a really, really good defense Pokemon. Not to mention it gets things like Tailwind, it gets Sacred Fire with a chance to burn, it gets access to Will-O-Wisp. It's got these really, really good movesets here. And I'm really, really impressed that Ho-Oh is like coming up now. Let's go Gen 2. All right. And then we've got Kyogre trailing at the back here, just as a nice counter sun measure. Since we are running again, you've got Groudon and Koraidon. It's just Kyogre being the sole drizzle setter here. So props to Kyogre for still staying up in the top 8. So this has been a really, really good thing. But again, I just want to see more mons like Ho-Oh come up in usage, dude. I want to see things like Lugia. I want to see things like Solgaleo. I want to see all these mons like just come up and just do dirt, dude. It's the time. Now is the time to get all of these restricted and go, we can throw anything at the wall and most of it will stick. This is the time. But that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was really, really fun for me to look through. I didn't catch much of the tournament. I think I caught one game back in day 1 with a Giratina, and that was really, really fun to look at as well. But yeah, it's nice to see restricted, you know, getting that thing and everyone just kind of closing in and figuring out what to do here. I love this type of regulation where kind of like you throw everything and like 9 times out of 10 it does pretty well. But of course, as the meta is going to shape up, we're going to see more of like who's really dominant in the meta game and things like that. But yeah, I'm very, very happy with how these things have played out like this past weekend. It looked really fun. Like the matches look really, really fun. I might go back and watch 1 or 2 as well, but it seems like it's going to go a really good way for Regai. I'm so excited Regai is finally here, honestly. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys have been absolutely amazing. Let me know what your favorite team was this past weekend, and also let me know what your favorite restricted duo is for Regulation I, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Right guys, take care and I'll see you later. Okay, bye.